Hi, everyone.
So I'm standing at this crossroad, which is just the two streets of what's left of the American German colony. And by the way, so the building we're visiting is the one to the left, and you see the church as well. And at this very crossroad, it actually shows you the connection between the American and German story. So it's more than just a crossroad. It's actually the connection and the turning point in many ways. So again, well, this is the memorial stone, kind of, and a small monument on the right by the sea in not far from Jaffa, closer to the neighborhood. So it actually commemorates all Nellie Chapman ship that arrived on September 22, 1866. So they brought this ship brought 157 people, and out of those 157 were about 40 children, and they came with their houses, with their belongings, all the way from Jonesport in Maine to establish the American colony in Jaffa. Well, Jaffa, it's the same thing. And their idea was not to convert any Arab population, Muslim population, Jewish population that had always lived on those lands. And they didn't want to join a Christian community, which was scarce, but still it was there. Well, they didn't want to do that. They were evangelists, and they wanted to prepare these lands for the arrival of Messiah, which they, well, expected to happen anytime soon. And they were full of hopes. They were full of knowledge and practical knowledge of how to grow things, how to build things, how to start things from scratch. Unfortunately, so that's the Jonesports, that's their hometown, and it took them more than 40 days on this three-mast ship to arrive. And well, ever since they got off the ship and set their feet on the shores of Jaffa, their life in Jaffa was not a plain sailing. Was not a plain sailing for sure. So the head of the community was the Reverend George Adams, and people followed him. He was a talented, charismatic man. Yes, he had a little bit alcohol issues, and he actually should have been more prepared financially and in well administratively, so to speak, because when they came, they were not allowed to. First, they were forced to stay on their ship for some time, and then they were only allowed to stay on the shore. They had to, first of all, buy the land from the Ottomans, and it took way longer than they expected. So they spent quite a lot of time on the shore. And this is, as you probably remember, the camp was exactly where the year before that had contracted a catchy disease, where there was kind of a small makeshift cemetery or whatever. So this is when first deaths started. And the American German colony basically is, well, it started from scratch. It was just dunes, right? It was just dunes. And we will walk around this area anyway. But, well, yeah, the only doctor that was with them died. Several children died that very first month. Yet people were full of hope, and people were full of determination to start a new life and to meet Jesus eventually. That's what they wanted. And they started building. So, well, they built houses the way they knew how to build them, right? And they were wooden houses, the one I showed you in the very beginning, but we had already seen that, so that's why I'm skipping it. And the first buildings in the neighborhood would be just the wooden ones. There was no church at that point. There were no other buildings, just the wooden buildings. And for 2 years, the American colony functioned, but it would be getting from bad to worse. People were between people just found themselves between a rock and a hard place, especially when they found out that the pillar of the community, Reverend George Adams, failed in many ways. After many more deaths and after many more challenges, 2 years later, so we're talking 1868, the American what's left of the American community, almost all the people decided to leave. Most of them returned to Maine. Some people moved to Jerusalem, very few, and joined the American colony in Jerusalem, where we had already been. And this land was sold to the German colony. So, and then the colony functioned nicely, and the area was thriving. Finally, the community was thriving until the First World War. And then after during the First World War, the British, as they in 1917 got the mandate and ousted the Ottoman Empire, they first sent away Germans, but then they were able to return several years later. And then the end to the German community would be, to the German colonies in the Holy Land, the end would be put after the Second World War. For obvious reasons, all of them would be most of them would be taken to Australia, and then they would disperse all around the world. And for a long time, until quite recently, this neighborhood looked like this. Up until 1980s, 1970s, 1980s, that's what it looked like. The area was in total disrepair, totally neglected. It was just a very bad site until a family from Maine, from Maine, with the background in Jonesport, in it shows me again that my connection is, I don't know if, yeah, it keeps telling me my connection is unstable. Well, keep me posted, okay? So far, again, I still see the full bar. And the big process of restoration started. So Dr. Reed and Dr. Jean Charles, Dr. Reed and Jean Charles started to take care of this land. They first came as researchers, and then they decided to stay and decided to do everything possible to restore the neighborhood. And they ended up buying this particular house, which was in a horrible condition. We will talk about it as the tour goes. We will see it. And they succeeded in less than 20 years. What's going on? They were able to turn this neighborhood into a small European/American corner, kind of, in a way. And then it became a very lucrative and expensive piece of real estate as well. And it's a charming place. And the Friendship House is exactly the museum we are visiting. Since we've already visited the big sections of the museum, we're going to start from here. I told you this is where we stopped last time. So I told you that they came with the wood, ready to build the ship. And in Jonesport, one of the main industries was shipbuilding, and in general woodworks of all sorts, and all the details for the houses were packed by windmills, by mills, I mean by sawmills, and they would be loaded on a train. This is a model of a train. There's also a photograph of the steam train. So this is it's over there to the right from the lamp. And then it was taken to the port in Jonesport, and from there to tonality Chapman. That's just how it was. Uh, so these people knew there was not much there, but they were not prepared for the sandy soil. They were not for the sand, not even the soil, just the sand. They were not prepared for the climate. And they had no idea how difficult it would be also to negotiate things with the Ottomans. That, yes, officially they allowed and welcomed the purchase of lands and establishment of all sorts of Christian communities, but they were not really forthcoming in anything whatsoever. So it wasn't easy. Again, no doctors, no infrastructure, nothing. But they were ready. They were ready to do everything that they could, but it just wasn't enough. Here in this room, we also have a lot of original wooden elements, such as the shutters, the windows, the doors, and some of the agricultural tools that they used. And there is a fantastic thing. So you see this wooden beam. It has the initials MTW Jonesport. So every building, every house was named, obviously. And this wooden beam was found in this very house by Dr. Reeds and Jean, Dr. Reeds Charles and Jean Charles. And so again, I told you they had their roots in Jonesport. They were from the Maine, from Maine, and they had their roots in Jonesport. So to the right is Dr. Reed and Dr. Reed Charles, and to the left is his cousin Mark Wentworth. And he found out that those were initials of the father of his cousin. A grandfather, sorry, not the father, but the grandfather of his cousin. So it just happened by accident that they had no idea that the Reeds, Charles and Jean Charles would buy the house that originally belonged to their family. It was a pure coincidence. We will see a lot of photographs of how the construction and restoration was going. And here we see the original elements that were discovered while the restoration. It looked more than just a restoration. It was like almost recreation of the house. It honestly, just had, kind of this wooden grid and, well, a couple of doors, a couple of walls, no roof. That's what it was. And no floors in big part of the house. So they saw the nails, and these are the particular kind of nails. I totally forgot the name of these nails, but they're like, you will see, they're not round. They are cut nails, which work particularly well with wood. And I know they're still used in the States, but that's what I've been told in the museum. I have no idea. I'm not a specialist in nails. I know about different kinds of nails, right? But not the nails. And so they found exactly the identical nails, but from 170 years ago. Well, 170 years ago. Also, this is the covering of the roof. As I told you, the roof was almost non-existent, but what they were able to find is this mixture of something with shells from the sea. I don't know what the name of this thing is. I know that this was used to cover the roof. There were some bits of it found. Some sardines. I assume they came from Maine because another industry in Maine was, maybe still is, but as far as I understand, the factory closed. It was a sardine factory. Maybe it reopened, maybe just one factory that closed. I don't know, but that was another industry that Maine and Jonesport were famous for. And yeah, some more bits of this material that's used to cover the roof. Then also these type of pipes, the clay pipes. This is the actually very old technology for air conditioning. In the Middle East, well, they didn't have air conditions the way we know them nowadays. There was no electricity, there was nothing, but it was always very hot. So this is the very old technology of using this clay spheres, pipes, and they would let the air in. So the way it worked, it just needed to be a draft. They had to be, they were just basically letting the air in and out. And it worked. And it's still working, by the way. They still, this, you can still have it. So we see this friendship house before it wasn't very friendly. Not very human friendly. So what actually these couple decided to do, the Charles family, so the house originally looked, well, when Germans came, I'm jumping back and forth in my narrative because that's just how it was. So when the Germans came, they built more houses, and they all built their houses with stone. The Americans would build with wood, Germans would build with stone. And they rebuilt some of the houses in stone because it was more solid and more safe. Well, fire security thing. And what they decided to do, I mean, the Charles family, and what they decided to do is to preserve, to split the house in kind of two parts, to preserve the German heritage and the way Germans built it from stone, which is the left part of the building. And they also made sure they got rid of the stone and restored it with wood according to the technology, like it was used back in times in Maine. And they created this hybrid house. On the one hand, it's German. On the other hand, so this is the photo of the same house in 1930s. So you see, it looks like any German house. Originally, it was all wooden, but the Germans, they rebuilt it. They placed stone. They didn't take down the building. It was the original building, but they somehow added, I don't know, did it in stone. So that the Charles family, they created the hybrid, left part just like in Germany, right part how it originally looked like. Well, obviously, well, I know that they hired specialists and restorers and carpenters that knew the technology from back 19th century. And but the idea was not to recreate the exact same copy of the house. They knew they would be living in this house, so obviously they used the advantage of modern technologies as well. It's not the absolutely scientific restoration. You see a photograph of a lady called Theresa Rogers. So Theresa Rogers was one of those 40-something children that was on Nelly Chapman ship, and she went through it all. She was a little girl when she came to the Holy Land, and she saw deaths of her friends of the family, and she was among those Americans that decided to go back. And then, so she would be telling the story. She told the story. She was an elderly woman, like very, very old, when she told the story to a young Dr. Reed. And after all the stories that she shared with him shortly after she passed away, there you go. And this is when he had this idea of writing a book to tell the story of the American German colony. And as he was writing his book on the American German colony, he eventually decided to come to the Holy Land. And so when they came in the 70s, they saw what they saw. You see what they saw. You see over there. Well, this is when they had this idea to bring this to order and save what they could, what they could have saved. And that's what they did. You see, no floors, just walls. Um, Sometimes no walls, too, no roof, nothing. If you remember, we started the tour with a quick visit to the basement. And you must have seen. I also asked you last time, just kind of to pay attention to that wooden beam in the center, like the of the basement. So that's that beam, and there's no floor, nothing, just that. And you will also see the roof works. There are some photographs of the roof. It's just several pieces of wood, and that was it. I mean, well, you see, that's what they had to work with. It was almost non-existent, and the entire neighborhood was like that. So the Wentworth house, that's what it looked like, and that's where well, and then this is as they were repairing the roof, they found that wooden beam with the initials of the Woodworth family. So there was a lot of work, there was a lot of money involved. Obviously, it wasn't just their private investment, it was the help of the state of Israel, of the Israel Antiquities authorities, because we are talking here of, well, it was back then, it was 100, was 100 and 150, 140 years ago. So that was already, it was already the job that had to be done in close coordination with Israel Antiquities Authority. So it all happened, it all worked out, and now it's a unique place. I also told you that a few people actually remained. So most Americans left 2 years later. So 1868, 1869, it was the end of the American colony, and the German colony came in. But a few people remained, such as Rolla Floyd. Rolla Floyd, he was one of those Americans who came with his family. His first wife passed away very quickly. She was among the first people that died because she had contracted this catchy disease. Sorry, I'm kind of I need to stop for a moment. And he married for the second time. And you see next to his photograph, the photograph of a woman. So the Dosia Floyd was his second wife. And Rolla Floyd came with a house. We will see his house. You also saw the gravestone. So he didn't come with his gravestone. So, but this is kind of a little spoiler. So he had stayed till the very end. But he came not just with a house and the family. He came with his carriage, which was very state of the art carriage, like a very good one, high quality, with very good what do you call this, springs for amortization, right? I think that's what it's called. I'm not sure. And because he was very good with people, and because he saw that there was great potential in the Holy Land from, well, pilgrimage point of view, tourism point of view. However, there wasn't really tourism at that point at all. So, but he very quickly learned Arabic, like, of course, in between the construction of his house, prayers, saving children, burying his first wife, and remarrying a widow, and many other things. He also learned Arabic, like, like Duolingo. He just did his Duolingo, like Misha has been doing his Duolingo for almost 800 days. I don't know how Rolla Floyd did that, but he did that. And he befriended a lot of dragoman. You see it in the photograph to the left. You see also the little caption under the photo. Who were the dragoman? It comes from the Arabic word, which in Turkish sounds as a terjüman. Tercüme etmek means to translate. So dragoman is a kind of corrupted version of the word terjüman, to interpreter. So dragoman were basically interpreters and facilitators, that helped with the trips. So Rolla Floyd established his first travel company in the Holy Land at all. So this was the times when the Ottomans allowed everyone, allowed the pilgrimage to the Holy Land. Christian, Jews, Muslims, they couldn't care less, unless people paid, and people wanted to see the Holy Land. And there was no infrastructure, there was no road. So what Roloff Lloyd did, he, together with the Ottomans, they built the road. Well, not with concrete and everything, but it was the pebble road from 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 Tel Aviv, well, from Jaffa. There was no Tel Aviv at that point, to Jerusalem. And he started taking people from Jaffa port because everyone arrived on ships. He built his own boats, and the boats would be branded. So the moment pilgrims or the new settlers or whoever they were, they arrived at the shores of Jaffa, the boat of Roloff Lloyd would be taking them from the big ship to a smaller boat with all their belongings, because the bottom of the Mediterranean Sea in Jaffa port is very, very shallow and rocky. So big ships could not sail to the shore. And then, and from there, it will be just Roloff Lloyd offering all kinds of transportation services to Jerusalem, and also to the Kinneret, to the Sea of Galilee. Sorry, Kinneret is the name in Hebrew for the Sea of Galilee. Sorry, and to all the sites in the Galilee, because this is where Jesus was from, right? And all his ministry was there. It was just Roloff Lloyd, and him being that very efficient and business oriented, and also and also just very good in communication with the Ottomans. Dragoman worked for him, and Dragoman trusted him, and he trusted them. And Dragoman were also they were also the security, because everywhere outside of Jerusalem or Jaffa city walls, it was wilderness, and people could be robbed, and that's what actually happened. But for some reason, with Roloff Lloyd and his dragoman, no one ever touched the pilgrims. So Roloff Lloyd he was rolling in it. Eventually, he moved to Jerusalem together with he moved to Jerusalem not for good, but for a long time, because this was the center of the operations. That's, by the way, his state-of-the-art, super advanced carriage. This photo was taken in Jonesport. As you can see, this is not the Jaffa scenery. This is no way it's Jaffa. And this is one of the dragoman that worked for Roloff Lloyd. That's the road that was built, and this road exists. Well, it doesn't look the same way, but this road kind of exists. And what the Friendship House and Jean Charles is now doing, they are recreating this itinerary and placing certain artworks and information stands along the road. That's incredible. So, and Roloff Lloyd also was very hot. So I'm sure he was the best guide ever. Well, he wasn't really the guide. He was more like, he's the one who arranged everything. He was in charge of everything. And then people, I guess it's just because everyone found him hot. I don't know. So this is gravestone. I haven't seen his grave, to be honest. I don't know why. So, but I should. So probably next time I go, I will do it. By the way, this black and white photo, I mean, all of them are black and white. The photo with tents, these are the tents and the Sea of Galilee. So they could put, there were no hotels, there were no hostels, nothing. Only little by little, starting from the end of the 1860s, Germans would start developing building the infrastructure. But the railroad between Tel Aviv to Jerusalem would not be opened until more than 20 years later. So it would be still him and the carriages, and Germans will be building hotels. That's why I took you to the Jerusalem German colony, for example. That's why, and also in Haifa, Haifa also had a port, but well, that's what a little different story. But yeah, so it would be German colonies. That it wouldn't be the Ottomans that would invest in the development of the land. No way, no way. Ottomans did nothing. They only took money. Well, and yeah, some okay, okay. I shouldn't be that mental. Okay, some dragoman worked well, right, for Roloff Lloyd, and some were involved because it was paid work to build the road. Other than that, no. So when the Germans came, what did they do? Well, because Americans, they clearly failed in agriculture, and so they left. Germans left all alone, and so why did they succeed? That's a good question. And so Germans were, it's not because they were more hardworking, or it's not because they were more lucky. It's just that they had, well, some more innovations with them. They had more engineers with them, and more people in general. Yeah, because there had already been the Haifa colony. It was the first colony in the 50s. Well, a little bit shortly before the big pilgrimage boom started, and they had already had some, some ways of an understanding of how things had to work, and they were in a slightly better relationships with the Ottomans in Haifa, so there was kind of a little bit more of the quid pro quo. Well, not quid pro quo, but it was like a mutual interest there. So when they came, they started doing the same thing, rebuilding, improving. And you see to the right hand side, you see the postcard. It says Jaffa German colony, and you see a lot of oranges. So Germans started growing oranges. And that was the main source of income, which made Ottomans also very happy, because Germans paid them. Well, they shared all the income, and these oranges would be sold to Europe, and ever since then we all know of what the Jaffa oranges are. Big deal, big deal. So basically, the big territory of Jaffa outside of the city walls used to be just the orange groves, which closer to, well, yeah, by the way, this is what I was talking about, the boat that was the branded, that the Roloff Lloyd boat. So this was it was, well, you see, this is what Jaffa port looked like. You see all those rocks. This is from the old Crusader port times, by the way. And so ships couldn't really come this close. You see the ships far, far away. So the big vessels. And then it would be Roloff Lloyd there with his boats, charging people quite a lot, but they didn't have any other options. So that's yeah. So this is this miracle of Roloff Lloyd, and it was only the beginning. This is how the tourism industry and tourism infrastructure started, thanks to pilgrimage, and thanks to those handfuls of Americans and several handfuls of Germans that actually started it. But then it would grow into several colonies that would finally set things in motion. Yeah, there in the photograph, you already see the church. Well, the church was finally built, but not that point. So we're definitely not seeing the church there. But I wanted to see the house of Roloff Lloyd. So, well, you see these wooden houses. So these are this is kind of it's a German house, but they kept the balcony. So it's kind of American wood, and Germans, because well, so we um when Germans came, so they rebuilt the wooden houses, they redecorated it in a German way. I don't know the details. So now it's kind of a combination. It's kind of American German houses, most of them, but they're also restored. And it's not, again, as I said, it's not a museum. In fact, it's actually real estate, and it's well, people live there, and there's also Airbnbs there. I don't know how much it costs, probably cost a fortune. I have no idea. And the house to the right-hand side is the house of Rolf Lloyd. If we go a little bit further down the road, there will be some modern buildings, some small modern residential buildings. They're tiny, but this is the historic part. So the two streets, and that's it. So this is the Rolf Lloyd house. By Rolf Lloyd, 1866. So this is the year when they came, and when he built the house. Now, to the left-hand side is the place called Beit Emmanuel. This was built during the German time, so we are not considering it for a moment. We're not talking about the church for the moment, right? So we're still at the times of America. We're not even done with the museum yet. You see, there's so much to talk about. So I told you that they are now trying to, well, recreate this route from Jaffa to Tel Aviv along that road that was built by Rolf Lloyd, the Pebble Road, and along that road they're placing some artworks, usually built from metal. They're placing the Friendship House logos and also some information, some materials. I haven't seen it yet myself. We will see. And this is basically the logo of the American German colony, the Friendship Road, it's called. So Johnsport, Jaffa, Ramla, and Jerusalem. So Ramla was one of the stops on the way to Jerusalem. Right now, the entire trip from Jaffa to Jerusalem by car is less than 1 hour, actually. By train, it's 40 minutes. By car, depending on the, it's less than 1 hour. Back then, it was way longer. It could take at least 2 days, because they couldn't go during the nighttime, and they had to be stopping along the way. So they would be stopping in Ramle and eventually in Jerusalem. So yeah, that wasn't easy, and that's why it was so costly also. But this is something that you have here, right? But Rolf Lloyd wasn't taught these things. He just had this feeling. He just had this, I don't know, flair for business, this charisma. I don't know, the beard, the mustache, whatever it was that he had, he just had it. He wasn't taught it. Well, he didn't have the degree in tourism, nothing like that at all. And obviously, there is what I didn't mention, and actually I have never been there myself. There is also a cemetery in Jaffa. That's that's the cemetery of both for Americans and for Germans. So some of the German settlers. This is just photographs. I have never been there. It's not really far from Jaffa. It's a very small area. And unfortunately, I haven't been there myself, which is ridiculous, but I will. So next time I go to Israel, I'll definitely go there. It's very close. It's just, see, it's I don't know, 20 minutes walk from Jaffa. So it's, definitely a must visit, definitely. And you probably know that I visited the cemetery in Jerusalem, the German cemetery in Jerusalem. And I have some more videos to share with you. So I'm putting things together. Yeah, for sure. Some more items that, for some reason, people in Jonesport had something for blue and white um, pottery. I'm not sure if it's China. That's what I forgot to ask. But they came with they came also with their dishes, with their tableware, with their kitchenware, with their earthenware, because they knew there was nothing there here for them. This is not what they had with them, but this is just the modern uh, tea set. I don't know, also from Jonesport, and they claim, well, the museum says that the people had the similar ones in the memoirs. So that's what's written in the book by late Dr. Reed Charles. But this patchwork blanket is original. This patchwork blanket was in the family of that lady that shared the stories with Dr. Reed, and this is the original patchwork blanket that was there in the American colony 170 years ago. Isn't it amazing? Absolutely incredible. So it's the original one, and it was given to Dr. Reed and Dr. Reed Charles and Jean. Well, because for museum, this is the unique museum. Absolutely, just in case you forgot who I'm talking about. So the Charles family. There you go. So you see their portrait. I got to meet Jean Charles. And I talked to her on the phone, and she gave me permission to film in the museum. But I met her in person several years before that. But I'm not sure when exactly when the Dr. Charles passed away. I'm not sure, but he wasn't around when I came. Also, you see the garments, the underwear, that it's not the original. It's from the same time, but it's not the one that was worn or was found here in Jaffa. They also came with the sewing machines, yes, because there were no sewing machines here, nothing like that. And obviously kids came with toys. The toys are of the similar time, but they're not the original ones. There are this is some photographs of the furniture, because the beds and everything was also made in Jonesport. And this is just the illustration from Jonesport. Well, what the furniture is most likely looked like, because we don't know. That's clearly not Jaffa, like 100%. That's not Jaffa. That's Jonesport. I bet they didn't take their sleigh with them. I bet. But it's just a nice photo from Jonesport, uh, some similar time. Uh, but you see by the doll to the left, there is a shoe. That shoe was found in the house. That's a kid's shoe. And these are the shoes of the same period, but not the original ones. It's just, well, it was brought from Jonesport, but the original shoe was found, and it's there on the shelf over there. Now you see it. So they were found some items, and they are now parts of the museum exhibits. But the museum is not, it's not a memorial museum, right? It's not a it has like very few original items from the site from the same time, but I think the museum is brilliant anyway. And a few more things before we wrap this up. Well, we have 10 minutes, which is great. So here on this wall, it's basically all about the recreation and restoration of the American German colony. and also different connections that people made. And also it's about the big reunion. There was a very big reunion to, I don't remember which year it was. It was to celebrate 150 years, I believe, of the American German colony, something like that. And the descendants came from all over the world, including the Clark family. Well, this is the photo of the Clark family 170 years ago. So the Herbert Clark was a diplomat, and he was from the States. But because he was a diplomat, he had to be in the capital. So they built a house in Jerusalem, in the area very close to Jaffa Gate. There is now a big shopping center called Mamilla. And there was also a little bit of very, very, very expensive residential buildings, ridiculously expensive. One of Russian oligarchs owns an apartment there. So this is kind of the price range, oligarch kind of price range. So the Clark family had their house there. And you see sorry, I need to give you a little bit more over here. Sorry, just one more thing. You see the design, you see the stripes, the white and red stripes. Well, you can see it, they look just black and white, but trust me, they are white and red marble. And this is the design from no, it's not marble actually. Anyway, so it's the red and white stone. I don't want to go into details because it's tricky. There could be marble, but not necessarily, because there was no the marble in Israel. I mean, it's all secondary use, but it's not necessarily that it was marble that they were using. It just depended. But anyway, so this is the traditional design of the Ottoman period, which originally came from the Mamluk period that we're talking here, 13th and 14th century. And we have seen already a lot of this ablaq design in Jerusalem, in the old city. And well, I have spoken about it. So just saying. Yeah. And so this is the photo 170 years ago or something in their house in Jerusalem, in the neighborhood called Mamilla. You wouldn't recognize Mamilla now, because Mamilla now looks very different from what it looked back then. So this is crazy. It had changed tremendously. But well, from here, for example, this is the road that well, this is the old city, and this is the city of David. So it's not the city, it's like the Tower of David Museum, which I have video of, so I will be taking you there, don't worry, I will. And to the left, this is the Mamilla neighborhood. A little bit more at the back, behind the front row of buildings, there was the Russian compound already built. So we're talking here the 1870s, right, 1880s. So that's what it looked like. Now it looks very different. They're whole different buildings, but well, the Russian compound is still there. And again, photo of the Charles family. You see also the photograph of that monument, and the house. Despite the big overhaul of the Clark's house, the house is still there. That's what it looks like. It's an Italian. It's an Italian restaurant. It was Kedma restaurant. Now there's a different restaurant there, and since I'm really frequent in Jerusalem, I passed by this place multiple times, and it's a historic building, and I will show you some photographs because I have them. But the amazing thing is that for that reunion, the descendants of the Clark family came to Jerusalem. They took photograph in the same place, and they were holding the photograph of their ancestors, the one that I showed you a couple of minutes ago. I think it's just absolutely fantastic. Yeah. So the descendants, so the Clark's family, right? And over here, This is the photographs of the house, of the Clark's house that we have now in Mamilla neighborhood. And you can see that all the stones are numbered, and they're numbered for a reason, because there was this tremendous overhaul of the area to completely rebuild it into this new shopping mall and residential area. They had to actually take this building down brick by brick, and then to put it there again when everything is built, just to understand the scale of the works. And these numbers are there ever since, and I don't think they are going to do anything about it. I don't think. I think it's now part of the. I think it's just. This is my photograph taken last summer. I think it's just now part of the exterior, kind of. I think so. I think so. Yeah. A few more things, and then we are going to wrap this up in the museum, which is good, because next time we're going to start already with the, like I said, the very end of the American German colony. So this is Herbert Clark. So, well, the American that served as a diplomat in Jerusalem. So Jerusalem was the center of everything. Jaffa was just the point of, it was just the place where they arrived. It was just one of the stopovers. It was never a destination. So everything was in Jerusalem. All the embassies, all the offices, and everything. And Herbert Clark also shared his story because he was also on that ship, and his family remained. So his family stayed, but they moved to Jerusalem. And he shared his story in the 1900s. Yeah, so in the New England magazine in 1907. Sorry, it's written there. Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't easy at all, and well, it's just incredible that he survived. He was just a baby. Well, he was just a kid, but he remembered a lot. Well, not a kid. He was not a kid. He was okay. He was like in his teens, something like that. So, but anyway, um, there there are a lot of stories, and thanks to so many stories were told, well, throughout the 19th century, but they had to be all found and collected. So what Dr. Reeds and Jean Charles did, and have been doing, well, she has been doing it, they are putting everything together. They are just, assembling it as that patchwork blanket, to be honest. And without them, there wouldn't have been any American German colony at all, because, well, you saw the photographs. It was almost non-existent. It was just about to completely, the buildings were just about to completely disintegrate. So that's just the amazing story. Plus, thanks to them, in Jonesport there is a memorial. I don't know if there is I don't think there is a museum of any sort, like, relate to those American settlers, but many people returned. I don't know exactly how many, probably less than 100 people, but they returned. And they also told their story there. So it all had to be done both in Jonesport and here in Jaffa and in Jerusalem as well, and along the way. So Dolly, thank you so much for your tips there. Thank you. And now Jean Charles is very busy with just the recreation of the road. So the road exists, but it doesn't look the same way. It's not 100% the same road that it was, but it is there. But now they are aiming to basically recreate it, the full journey through Ramle, placing the art objects, well, like these type of, the logos of the Friendship Road. And there is a reason. So there is a photograph of Ulysses Grant and also Mark Twain. Well, Rolla Floyd we already know, so there's going to be more, but I'll be keeping it for the second time. So yeah, we'll be talking about the American president. We'll be talking about Mark Twain. We'll be talking about also the founder of the travel industry, the tourism industry, and all that happened here. I mean, there in the Holy Land. But that's for the next time. Yeah, I've seen a couple of times this, thing about the connectivity, but you would have texted me had it been like really bad. So I hope you have been able to see everything. Let me open the chat, and let me know if you have any questions. Again, I haven't covered the full story because technically we're still the Americans still have not left technically at this point where we are. So we will be doing this like a transition, talking about this transition stage next time, which is fine because at least we have stopped logically at a very good place, and it will be not so difficult for me to give a recap next time and everything. Oh, the connectivity was totally okay for Dorley. That's incredible. Huh. Um, I wonder what then it was on my side. But okay, I'm here. Yesterday I was completely kicked out of Zoom. So I'm not, I was ready for everything, including this possibility. I'm sharing here the link. So the next episode is already scheduled. So it's going to be a little bit about the American colony still, and then it's going to be about the German colony coming in and taking over. So we are going to talk about the pilgrimage house. We are definitely going to see the five-star hotel, the Driscoll Hotel, which was called Jerusalem Hotel at that time because it was all about Jerusalem anyway. And we'll see if we have time, we'll see the church. If not, we'll do it next time. So there are a bunch of stories to share anyway. Let me know if you have any questions. At least for most of the party was okay for good. Hugs back. It's nice. And hi to all those who joined us a little after we started. I appreciate your patience. I hope that the connectivity was more or less okay for all of you. These things I have very little control of, unfortunately. Okay, so the plan is that after several tours on the American German heritage, I'm planning to switch again to nerdy history stuff and archaeology, and we'll be heading to the Tower of David Museum. Yes, Dolly, Misha's talk was recorded. I know you missed it, and I will be sharing the recording through my website. As you know, Misha's tours, because he's using a lot of videos and episodes from films and whatever music. I'm not putting it on YouTube. I'm sharing just the links to Google Drive through my website. So yes, it's going to be. I'm going to send it to you once it's all ready and published. I've already published the recordings as of last night. And the walk in Tbilisi with Oscar is already available. Thank you so much, Natalie. Thank you. Hi, Robert. So I didn't say hi. Everything to work fine. Super interesting. Especially I have some German ancestors from somewhere, believe just Europe and to the US. Well, most of those Germans that were born or raised or whatever lived in the any German colonies across the Holy Land, they were moved to Australia. And from there, they could disperse anywhere they wanted. But there is still this community in Australia. I even came across an interview on YouTube. It's in open access, and I watched it, and those people also shared some photographs. It's interesting, really. So technically speaking, there is so much more that needs to be put into writing and probably compiled into a book, definitely. Thank you so much, Maria. In my case, there were some there were some glitches for Maria. Okay. Okay, later was okay. Well, could have been worse. Thank you, Dorley. I'll let Misha know that you enjoyed his you enjoyed his talk and he reads beautifully. No, this wasn't my hand. I was given a tour by a lady who works at the museum. It's not Jean Charles, it's the lady who helps her. The museum is open during summertime, couple of times a week. And well, I was given a tour, but I talked on the phone with Jean Charles, and she gave me permission to film. And well, but she was just very busy, and at that time she was on her way to the airport because she had to urgently fly to the States because well, I mean, uh, because they're based in Maine. I believe so. I believe they're still in Maine, or maybe not. And well, she comes for several times a year to Israel. Yeah. So that was not my hand. That was not my hand. Oh, okay, Natalie. Good. Yeah. Say hi to Herbert from me next time. You should really sweet photographs with him for your birthday celebration. Rose had nails with rose-like head. Maybe they were those. I don't know. They don't look like rose head, but they're flat. And so as I was told, they were this special kind of nails that best worked with the wood. Maybe just because it was easily hammered into wood. I don't know, like because it would split the wood. I don't know. Rose head nails, never heard of it. Never heard of it. But those nails are still used nowadays. So yeah, but I don't know much about it. Sorry, I don't know about those nails. Thank you so much, everyone. I have thoroughly enjoyed talking about the American German colony and Rolf Lloyd, and especially Rolf Lloyd, and other things. Yeah, other things too. But yeah, thank you so much. They don't split the wood. So Cindy knows. So they don't split the wood. Okay, and how then what do they do? It's like they just, I don't know. I don't know what they do, but they do it well since they have been used for more than 170 years at least, probably even longer. I'm pretty sure that even longer. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me. I will see you next weekend, aiming for the same number of tours. Definitely taking you and Oscar on a walk in Tbilisi. I'm thinking to be taking you both to a like a touristy site, but not the old city. There are plenty of other places to visit, and also somewhere that I've never taken you before. It's always a challenge because, well, most of these areas that I kind of plan to show you within this unseen Tbilisi episodes, there's not so much history there as well. There's some architecture, there are some names, okay, some things that we know about the houses, but you wouldn't believe me, but there is still some gorgeous houses, not even just income houses, but houses that belong to just one family, like mansions in the city, and I've never shown you them. And there is no history at all. We don't even know who these houses belong to. They're not in great numbers, but they are still many. So, but I'll tell you there as well, because it's not me not knowing, just nobody knows. But they're beautiful, I promise. Thank you, everyone. I'll see you next week. Thank you for your support. Again, you can send me a PayPal donation. You could buy me a coffee. Laila Tov, good night, Shavua Tov. Have a great week, everyone. And bye-bye.